Good morning, Year 5 and 6. Welcome back to our second and final guided reading session for this week. Before we start today, make sure that you've listened to Chapter 14, Truce, from our class read today. It may also be useful to have this loaded on a separate tab or page so that you can keep going back and forth between today's questions and the text. As well as this, make sure you have a pen and pencil to write with, a ruler to underline today's date, which is Thursday, the 25th of June 2020, and of course some paper to write on. Pause the video now to get the things ready that you'll need for today's session, and then click play once you're ready to make a start. Just like in our previous session, we will continue to be developing a range of comprehension skills. We'll be using the mnemonic Vipers, as we've discussed before, to help identify the different types of questions we'll be covering. As we work through the questions today, please remember to write a letter in the margin of your page to make it clear what type of question you are answering. For example, the first type of questions we'll be answering are based around vocabulary. Therefore, you should write the letter V in the margin to show this. Here is your vocabulary question for today. Find and copy a word which means the same as flopped. Next, we have the question, why do you think the customer shivered? This question is about making inferences from the text. This means that you'll need to look for clues within the chapter. The author has not told us why the customer shivered, but he has left clues to give us an idea. Now it's time to pause this video to complete these questions and then click play again once you've finished to check your answers. Pause the video now. Okay, so our vocabulary question today was find and copy a word which means the same as flopped. Here is the answer for this question. Another word in chapter 14 that means the same as flopped is the word slumped. Well done if you spotted that and got that one correct. Our next question was why do you think the customer shivered? Again, there are several answers you might have given. Here is an example of how I have started to answer the question. The customer may have shivered as a result of Ellie passing through him, causing him to feel cold. The customer then rubbed his hands together, which would further support this idea, because it is common to do this when you are feeling cold. Well done if you had something similar to my answer, but remember, you may have given other equally good answers to explain why the customer shivered. For example, that he was afraid. Let's take a look at our next set of questions. For your next question, I'd like you to predict what event might take place in the next chapter. You may want to look at the final page here for clues to what Mr. Silver is perhaps about to do next. For your explain question, I'd like you to consider why the author gave this chapter the title Truce. You may wish to look at how Ellie and Daniel's relationship develops across this chapter. Pause the video now to have a go at answering these questions, and once you're finished, click play to check your answers. Again, there are different answers you may have given for this first question. Here is a peek at my answer. I predict that in the following chapter, Mr. Silver will have moved the shop to a new location to continue his search for his elusive treasure. Near the end of this chapter, Mr. Silver says, I've decided I don't like Barcelona, and seems in a hurry to leave, which is why I believe he will move the shop once again. Let's take a look at our next question. Explain why the author gave this chapter the title Truce. Again, there might have been several different answers you may have given. Here is a peek at mine. The author may have decided to give this chapter the title Truce because Ellie and Daniel appear to put aside their differences and begin to form a friendship. Great work so far, everybody. Let's take a look at our final question for today. Our final question today requires us to retrieve information from the text. This means that the answers will be in the text somewhere, and you will require to scan the text to find them. Your retrieval questions for today include: what was Anya covered in? And what did Daniel duck behind to avoid being seen by the customer? Remember that the answers for these questions are in the text, so you'll need to scan the text carefully. Pause the video now to have a go at these two questions, and once you're finished, click play to check your answers. Okay, our first question. What was Anya covered in? Every inch of Anya was covered in undulating, glistening snakes. Well done if you got this one correct. Let's take a look at our final retrieval question. What did Daniel duck behind to avoid being seen by the customer? The answer, of course, Daniel ducked behind a coat of armour just as the man reappeared. Brilliant job if you got both of those questions correct. Well done. And that brings us to the end of our guided reading session for today. Remember to take a picture of your work and upload it to Class Dojo so that your teacher can give you some feedback on how well you've done. Bye for now, Year 5 and 6.